Welcome everybody to our Facebook Live session. So today we're calling it Action. And I guess the way I look at it is there are approximately 7 billion people on planet Earth today, and approximately half, 3.5 billion, have nothing or close to nothing, are either living in a war-torn country, have spent all their lives on the streets of war, don't have enough clean water to drink, don't have a safe roof over their head, are subject to rape and stoning and all kinds of unspeakable atrocities. And then there are 3.5 billion who have some level of something. So here I am sitting in a beautiful home in Los Angeles, and yet I don't have as much as many, and I have more than many, but I've got something. And so we look, us 3.5 billion, look to the other 3.5 billion who have had sometimes unfortunate accidents, unfortunate turns of life against them, and we say, you know, I'm not religious, but I do love that phrase of there for the grace of God go I. We have compassion, and we say we've been lucky. We've got water and enough food to eat and a safe place to sleep every single night. What are we going to do for the homeless and at-risk kids who just will never survive or make it out of homes they're in, animals who are abused and suffer? And I'm always curious what it is, you guys out there, what touches you? Who do you write out some checks to during the year? You know, I'm not a vastly wealthy person, but I write a number of checks to disaster relief issues, to animal, shelters and people helping animals, to kids, especially sexual abuse kids. And I'm just curious what moves you, because, you know, let's just take Bill and Melinda Gates, to an almost preposterous example, and Mark Zuckerberg. They've made their decisions. Even they, with their vast amounts of dollars, can't help everybody and every cause. The Gates are criticized constantly for helping infectious diseases, the end of infectious diseases overseas, especially in Africa. So people turn to them and say, are you kidding? With all of your wealth, you couldn't focus on a problem, education, the homeless, right here in our United States of America? But it's a small world, and we all tune in to people in need, people less fortunate than we are. And I don't know why, or maybe I do know why, but as much as I am compelled to listen to and to help those less fortunate than myself, there are two particular groups that just tug at my heartstrings. One is the paralyzed. People who have fallen off a roof while they're painting their house, severed the spinal cord, and now in a heartbeat, their lives are changed drastically, radically, forever. That situation just makes me want to rise up and help and speak up and do something if there's something to be done. There's a young man, you may know him, he's pretty famous at this point. He's the son of a former Miami Dolphins star. The star was named Nick Buonaconti, and the son's name is Mark. Well, Mark, 30 years ago, was a football player, college guy, having a good time. He had discipline, he had passion for his sport. He was out on the field at the Citadel, the college he was at, and, you know, clearly a very rare occasion. In a second, not a second, a nanosecond, Mark's helmet hit another guy's helmet, and Mark crumpled to the grass. And now he's 50. So it's been 30 years that his spinal cord has been severed, and he's been in a chair. Well, Mark is a brave and fun and smart guy, and he decided not to go down. He decided not to cry in the corner or commit suicide. He decided to rise up and live the best life he can, and you know what? He's living a good life. He's engaged to a beautiful young woman, and he's got deep, deep friends all around the world, and he has started the Mark Buoniconti Fund at the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. And those doctors, the most esteemed doctors in the world in terms of spinal cord research, Dr. Barth Green is leading them, are on the cutting edge of from stem cell therapies and skin cell therapies to exoskeletons, all kinds of applications and cellular science that they believe, as Christopher Reeve did, that one day, maybe not in my lifetime, hopefully in Mark's lifetime, is going to get the paralyzed up out of their chairs and walking again. My second area of emotional attachment for those who have been through tough, tough times is childhood sexual abuse. What do they say now? The newest statistic is in our country, 1 out of every 4 girls, 1 out of every 6 boys goes through a devastating molestation, at least one, by the time they're 18, usually by someone they know. Well, I happen to have had a childhood with that particular story, so maybe that's clear as to why I'm involved with that situation. But I am deeply admiring of a young woman in Florida. She happens to be a Democrat and a state senator in the state of Florida. Her name is Lauren Book. Lauren is young, attractive. She's got the tiger by the tail. She's got a smile as wide as the sunset. But she went through a devastating many years of sexual abuse by a live-in nanny in their home. She's got good parents. She's got a dad, Ron Book, who could set the world on fire. He's a huge lobbyist for all kinds of worthy causes in the state of Florida. But, these things happen, and sometimes right under the nose of even caring parents. Did Lauren go down? Did she become a prostitute? Did she sell her soul? Did she go into the corner in the fetal position and not want to live this life? No. She started walking. Every year, the entire state of Florida, it's a long state. She started in Key West and would walk all the way up to the state capitol, raising funds for childhood abuse, especially sexual abuse issues, trying to get prosecutors more power, trying to extend the statute of limitations in certain cases. And now she's still doing that walk every year. Bonnie and I at Everwalk are going to go join her in the fall and to try to add some power to what she already does. But Lauren is determined. She and her dad, Ron, are determined with an organization called Lauren's Kids to bring attention to and try to stop that issue, that horrible experience of sexual abuse against kids in the state of Florida. And other states are now looking to them as pilot programs for their own states. So, yeah, I wish I just had unlimited funds. I wish I had a checkbook right here and could write out checks to all manner of organizations and individuals who need help. And most of us don't have those kinds of unlimited funds. So for me, it's that area of paralysis and childhood sexual abuse that draw me, and where I try to, give every little bit of power and attention that I have. But I'm curious about you. I'm curious about what moves you. And I know it's almost always what moves you comes from some personal experience. And maybe the classic example is Eunice Shriver. Eunice Kennedy Shriver had a sister, and I think we all know that story now, Rosemary, who was intellectually challenged, and then some, deeply disturbing events happened within Rosemary's life that made her even a lesser intellectual power than she was. And Eunice, as the closest sibling to her in the Kennedy family, said one day she was going to do something for the intellectually disabled, and she is who took the Special Olympics and made it into this national empire that it is today. How many of us go and volunteer for the Special Olympics and go and root those young people on as they compete? It's so emotional and it's so uplifting. Well, that was Eunice Shriver. Even though she was a force unto her own, Eunice won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She helped all kinds of women's shelters. She was into helping the indigent and the less than privileged. But the Special Olympics and the intellectually challenged were her heart. And that's why, because of that drive, that personal drive, the Special Olympics has become what it is today. And even though Eunice passed away in 2009, we just had the Special Olympics here in LA last year. Smashing success. No end of volunteers who want to make that event happen. So it lives on without her, just as the Mark Buonaconti Fund and the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis will live on beyond Mark in 50, 60 years, just as Lauren's kids will live on beyond Lauren, even though she's quite young. So I think it does. You know, our involvement often does come from some kind of personal experience. Either we've been through it, a family member, somebody close to us, something has moved us to want to write that check, give that time, know more about it, speak up about it. And I'm curious about you guys. What are you involved in? Gabby's with me today. Say hi, Gabby.
Hello.
There's Gabby. Gabby, who's weighing in?
We have Kim Kulik-Lebolt. She said, hi, Diana. We make lunch bags to hand out to the homeless here in Houston. We have the kids write a note that goes in each bag with food and toothbrushes and such.
Fantastic, Kim. Congratulations on your work. I don't know if you know Carol Porter, but she started a Feed the Poor, sort of a truck in Houston, and hers was a very personal experience. She had a tough go as a kid herself, wound up with 3 children, too young in life, no partner. She was working 2 jobs. She came home one night and her youngest son was missing. You know, little 3-year-old Tyrone was missing, and she found him in a garbage dump trying to find some food, and she said that's the end of that. So didn't happen overnight, but she said, I'm doing something. I'm doing something for the poor and the hungry, and I'm going to start something. And she got a truck together, refrigerated, started driving around town delivering lunches. So Kim, congratulations on what you're doing. Imagine if every one of us took that kind of initiative, what you're taking. I'm very proud of you. And by the way, out there, whether you want it or not, the giveaway prize for today, for the question that sort of stimulates us most and gets us all talking, which we'll decide at the end of the live session, is going to be this beautiful, I never really looked this good, but this beautiful photograph of me contemplative, looking out at the ocean, thinking about that Cuba so far away. Would I ever make it? So I'm going to inscribe this to you personally, somebody today, and send it off to you. All right, Gabby, who else have we got?
We have Everwalk Nation member Gabriella Greco.
Hi, Gabrielle.
United Cerebral Palsy. Obviously, one of my most favorite quotes is, who are we if not for each other? I tried to absorb the entire essence of what that means, live it, pass it on as much as possible. I admire people who just show up for their fellow man. Oh, another God's love we deliver.
Who are we if not for each other? Yeah, I guess it's another take on no man is an island, right? The third thing I said when I came out of that Cuba swim was, it looks like the most solitary endeavor in the world, but trust me, it takes a team. Without Bonnie and John Bartlett and Candace, and I can name the entire team, never ever would I have reached that other shore. And I hear you, Gabriella. Is it Gabriella or Gabrielle?
Gabriella.
I think it's with an A, isn't it? And you are beautiful, by the way. Your pictures are stunning. I love it when you wear your hoodie out in the snow. But with cerebral palsy, and I understand yours was from a birth issue, being born 4 months too early. My goodness. So I bet the early stages, just as someone perhaps who is paralyzed, you go through, the anger and like why me? Your brain. I've read, all of your, missives that you send in to us at Everwalk and to me and Bonnie, and your vocabulary is sparkling, your thought process is, elevated. So clearly you got a bad break early on, right out of the womb, physically. And look at you, talk about someone who's decided to live a big life and charge ahead, no matter what, your obstacles may be physically day to day. What admiration. How much could I admire you, Gabriella? But I love what you say, that you're not in it alone. So when you meet, people also who maybe they don't have CP, they have something else, but they're up against it and they're finding their way, and they tell you their philosophies and their emotional strength and share that with you, and you share with them, then you both, all of you come up I love that. Thank you very much.
Joanna King says, hi Diana, my full-time job is working with the elderly. I can't believe the president is talking about getting rid of Meals on Wheels. That's a crime. So many rely on that food to live day to day.
You know what? Right on. I was shocked. I mean, we talk about, they're going to defund the National Endowment for the Arts. We could just speak up about everything that's getting axed or getting cut radically in Washington at the moment. But I think Meals on Wheels and what you do hit me the hardest. I have volunteered often for Meals on Wheels. And, people don't understand. It's not, my gosh, lazy people or people who just want some free meal. It's people who truly would not eat, couldn't afford to eat, can't get out to eat. I saw a special last night. It was a woman in San Francisco who, has a good attitude. She's living the best life she can. She hasn't been out of her apartment in 7 years. I don't need to tell you this. Joanna, you deal with these people all the time. And a lot of the people I delivered to were doing great, and then they had an accident. And then their insurance ran out. And then if it weren't for that hot meal, and in some places, some of the San Francisco Meals on Wheels, I think, deliver twice a day, lunch and dinner. And it's a pretty good meal. I looked at it. I'd love to have it for dinner. Well balanced, fresh food. And you see the people who prepare those meals and deliver those meals every day. And by the way, those of you out there, go to Meals on Wheels. Go to mealsonwheels.com. I believe that's what it's called. Joanna, write in again and tell us the right connection, okay? But you can volunteer. We often just say, give 1 hour, give your lunch hour once a year. Once a year. Imagine if everybody did that. Millions of people. And that's what I did. I gave a few lunch hours. And I went to 3 different apartments, 3 different homes, delivered the lunches, for the Meals on Wheel people. And imagine if all of us got involved. It doesn't take that much of your time, your energy. So Joanna, write back in and let us know how to connect in and get all the information so we can volunteer. Because Meals on Wheels is national. They're in every town, every city, all around the world. And it is a crime if they're gonna lose some of, or gosh forbid, all of their funding. A crime.
Julie Caldwell says, help with others to volunteer referee Special Olympics basketball in the Chicagoland area. The athletes get so excited. One high school gave their athletes a send-off red carpet assembly in their big gym today. State is this weekend.
Fantastic. Julie, that you must be, jumping for joy. I don't know if you've ever seen the studies, but the kids, the junior high and high school kids, whether they're in private school or public school, the ones who volunteer, so, they're already busy. Usually these are the, sort of A students, so to speak, and they play a sport or they play a musical instrument or they're in the, the school band or theater. So they're usually, pretty gung-ho and they're, A-type personalities. They're the ones who also volunteer. They spend some time a week with the elderly or with the indigent, delivering meals, something. And usually their grades and their, sports performances, etc., get even better and better as they volunteer. They feel better about themselves. They feel part of their community. Their lives aren't just about themselves and their own success. So congratulations to you, and sounds like you're in a pretty good place on the floor there in Chicago. Good luck, Julie.
Pam Singleton says, working with at-risk youth, showing them how to express themselves through photography. My friend Karen has a wonderful program here in Phoenix called Kids in Focus.
I love it. Pam, hi. First of all, how are you? Pam's a good friend of mine and a sterling photographer, I must say, has helped me with a lot of my photography work. Yeah, well, Karen, let's just congratulate her. If she's not on the, live with us today, Pam, pass on our congratulations to her. My congratulations anyway. At-risk kids, and I find that often when kids don't have a chance, how many kids are going to have an iPhone or a camera or, even a drawing palette or paints, to express themselves, a musical instrument. And sometimes that's what they need more than anything to show that they've got creativity, to express even their anger and, other things that are going on within them. So photography is such a great lens, shall we say, to give kids, you know, to be able to look through that lens and see beautiful things or see painful things and express all of that. Fantastic. Thanks for weighing in, Pam. Take it easy.
Rhonda Lichtman says, just came from volunteering at the NASPCA dog shelter. It feels good to give back when I'm so blessed in my life.
Oh, Rhonda, I hear you. You know, how do you see? I've got a dog sitting right by my side here, and you know, those of us who love animals know that special love. You know, they say there's all kinds of love. There's mother's love, and there's parental love, in other words, and there's child love, and there's lover's love, and there's friendship love, and it's all good. You know, any love that we can give and get is all good. All there is love. That's what the Beatles said. But doggy love and pet love, animal love, horses, cats, birds, it's something special. It's nonverbal. It's 100% faithful. Best friend. I saw a tombstone once that said, to Rocky, my best friend. So the guy or the woman left a tombstone to his dog or her dog. So good for you to volunteer. There are just so many, and I do believe Los Angeles is at the very height now. The most animals in shelters and out on the streets, helpless, without homes. So we need more of that, Rhonda. Thank you for putting in your time and your love for animals at the ASPCA.
Jennifer Clark says, hi Diana, I heard you speak at PMA Women's Fresh Perspectives last year. I admire you greatly. You're an inspiration to so many people. I teach students online and invest significant amounts of time to support those students who want to advance their education. Each of us individually and within our communities need to be the change we want to see in the world. If not us, then who? Please keep us posted on how we can support you in your efforts. You're doing great things and good work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll do all that posting. As a matter of fact, I think that, you know, it's hard to choose organizations. And oddly enough, let's say within the world of animals, you know, you go way over to the radical left and you've got PETA, you know, who are willing to die. Some of the people from PETA are willing to, you know, jump off a ship if a whale's going to be hurt and lose their lives. You know, it would through the ASPA, somewhere in the middle, and other organizations, and often they fight for the same funds. It's true in the world of paralysis. You know, many different organizations see the future. They have a different vision of how they're going to, you know, go through this trauma together. The same thing with childhood sexual abuse. So it's sometimes hard to choose, and I'm kind of reluctant to, you know, to go to my Facebook page and select and, you know, post a whole bunch of different organizations, because what if I leave out ones and I'm ignorant in certain areas about others. But I'm at least going to, over the next couple of days, post the ones that I know about for sure and would love for other people to know about. And I welcome you all to write in on the Facebook page, as you're doing today, live. Tell us more about who you're engaged with and who we should all know about to help.
Marty Ryder said, saw you on my red-eye flight to St. Louis recently, and I so badly wanted to tell you well done.
Oh, Marty, how do you like this red eye? I have to say, I am my age. I'm 67. You know, I don't go around trying to be any other age. But I say one thing I admit that I'm not as good at as I've gotten older is those red-eye flights. I used to bounce off those all-night flights and just go, you know, do a couple jumping jacks, get a shower, and I was ready to go, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Now I get off those red-eye flights and I kind of stare at my watch saying, well, what day is it? What time is it? It takes me all day to get myself together. So I don't know if you have the same experience, but don't hesitate. Next time you see me on a flight, come up and let's chat.
Gabriella says another organization she works with is the 21 Club for Children with Down Syndrome. I volunteer in honor of my beautiful best friend and her baby girl, Sophie. And yes, please elaborate more on how we can support you.
Yeah, Gabriella, I got your note one day about Sophie, you know, and it's sort of like, you know, what you were trying to intimate before, you know, you're not in CP alone. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but numbers of cerebral palsy, you know, individuals are pretty large. We all, you know it and know somebody who's dealing with that particular issue. But as you're saying, as your friend, Sophie's child is dealing with, people have all different kinds of things. And so for you to, be someone who's dealing with cerebral palsy yourself and know a number of people who are dealing with CP, you reach out and volunteer for Down syndrome kids. How wonderful. I have worked with Special Olympics a lot through my life, and Down syndrome is it touches your heart. A lot of the Down syndrome kids are so darn affectionate. Not to, generalize, but so loving. And, just the kids will hug me, just embrace me all over and put their head right here nestled in my shoulder. They're easy kids to fall in love with, easy kids to help. Good for you for volunteering.
Joanna King says, it's a long shot with so many programs that need funding, but all children need to know how to swim. I hate to hear about kids and adults that are afraid of the water. There's too many accidents.
Yeah, I don't have the statistics right in front of me. I have through the years, of course, as a swimmer, known about areas. New York City's one of them. Some people grow up in a very urban environment, even though Manhattan's an island. And the Atlantic Ocean and the Hudson River, it's all right there. Many New Yorkers do not swim. And there are all kinds of swimming accidents. And not to mention, you're talking about the most important part, which is safety. Be able to save your life if, God forbid, you're thrown overboard or, something happens, even in a pool, a small child. I fell in a pool when I was about, I think I was less than a year old. I fell in a pool, and evidently the dog we had, Waldorf, barked until he was hoarse. He stood over the pool when I was going down to the bottom as a baby and just and my mother came out, and she rescued me out. So, a lot of people don't take the time to build a fence around if they're near a creek or a pool or something. And how a child, you can just turn to the side for a nanosecond, just a blink, and you look around and that child has run, far and maybe into a body of water. So for safety, and then there's just, the earth is 4/5 water. I mean, I know I could go the rest of my life without skydiving, and you may be a skydiver out there and tell me you're missing the grandest experience of all of life. You feel like you're flying when you're free falling. I don't know. I'm ready to miss skydiving as part of my life's experiences. But people who are afraid of swimming and never know the magic of floating and being supported by the ocean and looking up at the stars at night or looking up at the clouds flying by. We are made of water and we live on water. It seems to me that even along with safety, just experiencing swimming, and I'm not talking about powerful swimming, just being in that medium of water, that's a crying shame if people don't have that opportunity.
Okay, last one here. Cindy Lou says, hi Diana. I volunteered in sharing meals with immigrants and homeless people here in Mexico. It's funny how a lot of people find these types of activities very interesting and nice, but they don't volunteer themselves. What do you think about that? What do you think is missing in the society to get more involved?
You're right. And if you I was just talking to the woman who heads up Planned Parenthood here in LA, and she says, listen, we need money and we're grateful for money. And actually this year, because of what's been happening, the assault on Planned Parenthood, evidently, at least in LA, which is the biggest chapter of Planned Parenthood, people have been giving. They have more money in their coffers this year than they ever have. 2017, just 2 months into this year. But they often say, almost all of these organizations, that clearly they need money. Money hires staff, money builds, beautiful housing for children or for animals or whatever they need. They need money, but they say that people will readily sit down and write a check, a small or medium or a large check, but they won't give their time. They won't volunteer. And in many instances, they need the money, but they need people too. They need people. Like I was saying with Meals on Wheels, they need people to come help. All those people who work Meals on Wheels, they prepare the food, they deliver the food, they clean up, they get ready for the next meal on a volunteer basis. So I hear you, and I think it's just going to be more of, your neighbor affecting you. Your neighbor's going down to help. deliver Meals on Wheels, they say to you, you should do it. 1 hour a year could make a huge difference. You got to do it. And that brings me around to, I'm going to ask Gabby to remind me who called about Meals on Wheels. Do you remember?
Yes, let me find it.
This little giveaway could go to everybody today. Every one of you has brought up such important organizations and movements, and you're giving your time, and I thank you. Thank you all for your public service. But I'm going to, Gabby's looking for we're getting back there, but I'm going to send this out to the person, I think it might have been Kim.
Joanna.
It's Joanna King. Joanna, you're the one with Meals on Wheels. Going to send this to you with gratitude. Thank you so much. So Gabby will be in touch with you and get your address. But like I said, this could have gone to every single person who tuned in today. And thank you to Lauren Book and to Mark Buonaconti and to Eunice Shriver and all the people who don't go into a corner and die, but they rise up and they find a smile and they somehow make a monumental difference in the world of the disadvantaged and the people who have been violated. Peace out, everybody.